Okay, hi everyone. It's 2 minutes past 6 and thanks for joining this meeting. Are there any issues that you would like to discuss? Or let me first say what on my agenda is to go through the MBA cheat sheet with you guys. There's more than enough information on the sampling and all the the theory part of it that you can go through during the week. But if it's okay with you, I'd like to focus on the cheat sheet, but I'd like to also challenge you to get me a better word, because cheat sheet just goes against my grain. So it would be really nice if someone can come up with a different title to that file that I have. I've put in the chat, in which hopefully everyone can see, just a couple of things, but we'll get to that now with when we discuss the cheat sheet. Okay, so the floor is open for you guys. Concerns, breakthroughs, please.
Study buddy.
Okay, hello. I just want to ask about the assignments. I read through yesterday and it had me a bit confused. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to write 1,500 words, because once you've said this is the paradigm, this is the methodology, then
Okay.
I don't get the last part of it.
Okay, let's quickly look at the actual assignment. I'm just going to share my screen with you guys. Oh no, that's not going to help to show you my folder. So let me just stop sharing this one and share the Moodle site. Oh, here it is. Okay, so you can all see the screen. Let's go then to, we're in week 3. And let's go to the actual assignment. Friday to Sunday. Okay, so it says find a publicly available report and critically comment on the methodology adopted for the research purpose and identify the trends that stood out from the research having implications for any organization of your choice. So Cora, I think the first thing would be to describe what the report is about as well in your introduction. Let me just quickly see if I don't have the meeting rubric here. I should have. Then we can just go according to that one as well. Individual application.
It's just that second part that threw me off a bit, because it kind of goes on a tangent. Then it's not really research anymore. You're going into the content. But if that's okay, I suppose that's okay.
No. So you can first, I would say, firstly talk about the actual study and describe that. That should about be a paragraph-ish. And then describe the methodology. And then give your view on if the methodology was appropriate for the actual purpose of that research report that you have found, and then also give a glimpse of the results of the study, and then say how you think it could have been done in a different way, and if you think it was superb, that there's no, that they didn't have to change anything, then you can say that as well, but you need to give reasons for that. So you would typically refer back to say what is a quantitative study, and use a source to support your argument, and then say why it was specifically appropriate for that study. So in actual fact, you can use the good old cheat sheet for that as well. I'm just going to stop sharing this one and share this one. Yep, this one with you, the cheat sheet. So you need to talk about which research philosophy it is, what approaches did they use, what design did they use, or their research strategies. Were those what were those? So again, refer back to a source, like your textbook, for example, and then say if based on the explanation of, say, a survey, is it appropriate to get to the purpose of the study. So the whole time you'll have to keep the purpose of the study in mind, and then refer to, you can basically use our famous cheat sheet for exactly like this, to structure your argument, to say, do you have information on the time horizon, the sampling technique, how did they collect the data, how did the processing work? If you can, if that report of yours is written in such a way that it's actually, that you can see it. But you should, from the overall report, the research report, you should be able to figure out the research philosophy. You should be able to figure out the strategy. The paradigm is easy, so you'll easily see if it's quant-qual mixed method, time horizon, and just go through all of these. Then and then also, if something is not there, it's not the end of the world, because it might be, because remember that it's about the objective of that research report. So if it was an academic research report, you would probably have reference to proving the rigor in trustworthiness or reliability and validity. But if it is a JSE report, then that would not necessarily be in that, which is not also to say that, you know, they didn't consider it, but you can just say then, because of the purpose of the report, they haven't described validity and reliability. Okay. Does that make it a bit clearer? Cor, are you?
Yes, very much so. Yes, thank you. I think I got stuck on the last part of the sentence, but there's so much information for the first part that, yeah, okay, the last part is just
let me just quickly see, look at that thing again. So it says, find a publicly available report and critically comment on the methodology adopted for the research purpose. Okay, so the purpose of the study is very important, because that's, you need to almost critically comment on the methodology in relation to the purpose of the research purpose, and then identify trends, things, ideas, arguments that you can come up with that might have implications, that you can say, okay, so say for example, it was a consumer lifestyle report by Euromonitor. Let's just take one. I'm just going to get to such a report. Where's my Euromonitors? Okay, so I subscribe to Euromonitor, which is really fantastic. The university or Monash doesn't. I've got access to it through other means, but let me now just get to share the thing with you. Oh my word, I'm okay. Can you see this report, Global Economic Forecast, or not? It's not showing. Okay, let me just go back then.
Ilse, what is a Euromonitor?
It is a research house that that does a lot of overall research. That's what I wanted to show you. The type of things. I'll show you my folder first, which I save it in. So it's usually, the reports come regularly, as you can see. These are just the ones from 2017 that I got. But the one is the Global Economic Forecast, Beauty Personal Care Survey, Communities of Internet Age, etc., etc. But the top 5, let's look at this one. The top 5 trends. Okay, now I just need to figure out again how to get to the bloody thing. Sorry. Oh, okay. I'm getting there, I promise. Okay. Share screen. There you go. Okay. So say, for example, you get the Euromonitor report. This one is now just linked to another website, but I have the actual thing, the whole thing, which I'll show you now. But it talks about declining consumer confidence affecting household spending, internet retail begins to grow. So a lot of trends that they identify based on their research. But if you go to the actual study, and I'm going to, this is, okay, I'm just going to use another one, mega trend analysis. There we go. That's the initial one that I wanted to show you. So this report talks about the mega trend analysis and consumers at the heart of business. Then it talks about the, let's get there, how they've done it, but also how they define a mega trend. And then they talk about here the mega trend drivers. So then the last part of your assignment is you need to say how this article or research report might have implications for your business. So for example, my brother-in-law works in India for Aditya Birla, and they Multiply from Momentum, the medical aid scheme. So he's working for the company in India to replicate the Multiply model for that company there. But what was really applicable for this study was to see, for him to see the economic power, and it is usually it's done according to countries. Okay, how technology and how that influences behavior, the population change in general might be something that's applicable to his company. Okay, the environmental, changing values, the consumer how things have changed. Sorry about that. So what I'm saying is, if this was my report that I drew for this assignment, I would be able to talk about the methodology and everything, but the last part of the question says you have to apply it to an organization of your choice. So I would then use, say, for example, to say, for my organization, if I worked for that company in India, that they like to try new products and services. I just want to show you something. Ethical living, healthy living. So healthy living as a mega trend, one of the mega trends, will be applicable for my company because I'm into health insurance and medical aids. And the healthy living sector of the mega trends will have an impact for my organization. So let's look at the actual mega trends then.
Elsa, sorry, Elsa?
Yes.
All we can see is your main screen. It says global economic forecast with a picture of a building behind. I don't see anything else.
So
You're pointing your mouse around the plane.
Okay, let me think quickly. Sorry, thanks for that.
No problem.
I wonder how.
Is it just
Just give me a second. I'm going to get it on right now. So stop that. And let me get to report. Let me just get to the right page then, because it seems as if I cannot scroll down on the document while I'm busy. It can just show a static screen. So let me just get to that. Okay, let's try this and see if it works. Oh, my word, no, it doesn't. But in any, can you see, do you see healthy living now? Or do you still see only the mega trends? But in any way, so let me explain it then. Healthy living is one of the mega trends, and it says healthy living habits are becoming the normal way of life as concerns over obesity, food sensitivity, and people affected with the diseases continues to rise. And consumers are demonstrating a more holistic approach to wellness, encompassing spiritual and mental well-being alongside physical health. And so it goes on explaining the mega trend of healthy living. And then if you look at the graph, then where's India on it? It's actually consumers rating limited daily stress levels as very or extremely important. So in actual fact, then for me, working for a medical aid company like Momentum, it would, and I'm in India on a project, then it would be important for me to see that in India, how many respondents? Almost 75% of respondents agree that their daily stress levels are very or extremely important to them, which means that they are more inclined or they are more interested in the consumers are increasingly looking for personalized health, mental well-being, clean label, botanicals, etc., to build for themselves. So the model of that medical aid scheme can argue based on these trends that it's not going to swing the entire company, but it can make an argument based on this specific mega trend that it is, that consumers in India are becoming more and more inclined to healthy living. I know it's a seriously roundabout way of describing it now for you, but that's the last part of the assignment. Okay. Can I see some nods or not?
That's fine, thanks.
Okay. All right. So sorry, I know it's a really, really roundabout way, but it might be that your report is that you're looking at can be applicable for the sales of your company or to in terms of market entry for a company. So there you really just need to be a bit creative in thinking of ways how that research report can be used in real life. Right. So I think then we're good with the assignment, and then there's also the quiz, just to remind you about that. But the quiz closes on Sunday evening. So that's not, you can do it then whenever you want to. Any other questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes, Mark.
How many questions are in the quiz?
I think it is 15 or 20. I'll have to check for you again, but it's not like a, you're not going to sit forever. It's a small one.
Okay, well, I saw there's a 15-minute time limit, so I was just trying to work it out.
No, I must be honest, I can't remember exactly. I've set it up in September, but it's not a long one, and it's not a brain surgery exam.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, last round of questions. Okay, then we can talk about, and now I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully it works properly. Where is that MBA research report cheat sheet? No, not that one. Okay, let me just close all the other windows. Oh, here we go. Okay, so can you guys just give me an indication of what you're seeing at the moment? Do you see the research topic problem statement part? Okay, and do you see if I scroll down?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so I think we've spent enough time on the research topic, and I think you understand now what the problem statement is, and that it is in actual fact not as one statement, but it's a whole little story that you build to put your research project out to the audience. Okay, so it's really your justification and your positioning of your study. And then the overall research question or statement of purpose, you can either do it as a question, or you can do it as a statement, like an objective. So that's not really the issue. The issue is that you have one sentence, not longer than 3 lines, to say exactly what you are going to do. All right. All still good till there. Then, from the overall research objective, you will have sub-research questions. And I actually have Nayo, if it's okay with you, because we had a meeting last night and we made really nice progress. Can we talk about is Nayo here tonight? Sorry, I can't see. Nayo, it doesn't seem like it. Okay, Laverne, sorry, but then we're going to use yours that we've worked on this week. Okay, so I just want to illustrate to them how we got from, your broad topic or idea to how we've actually phrased it. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, so we all know now that Laverne is working, she wants to look at branding and engineers their view of branding, and we actually know what their view is, but we framed it. Okay, so can you please just talk? You don't have to talk about the problem statement. You can just give like a short introduction to your study, and then I want you to focus on the research topic. And I would also like you just to talk about the overall research question that we came up with, and then the actual sub-research questions or objectives. I think we got objectives eventually, if I'm not mistaken. Will you quickly do that for us, please?
Okay, so Ilse shared something really nice with me, which was about the tension which exists in the paradigm of thinking between branding or people in the branding sphere versus people in the engineering sphere. So that got us tinkering with that dynamic. So in terms of the research question or the title, we said breaking the tension between corporate branding and consulting engineers towards a conceptual framework, just addressing the fact that there's tension between how things are seen between the two different parties. And then the research objective is a proposed framework to change engineers' perceptions of corporate branding.
Okay.
Sorry,
no. Continue, Laverne. What? Just repeat that for me.
A proposed framework to change engineers' perceptions of corporate branding.
Okay, so it will be to develop a proposed framework. What? Okay, so it must be said either in to determine or to develop or to explore or to analyze or whatever, but or it can be, you can, yours will only be possible in an objective because there's not something specific that you are going to look at because it's a framework. Okay.
And then
yes. Sorry.
And then we really focused more on the theoretical framework, and based on narrowing the theoretical framework, I will then narrow my 5 sub-objectives, but I haven't written them out.
That's
yet.
fine. That's fine. But we came across an article or an article with a framework of building or corporate branding and the concepts of corporate branding. And now Laverne is going to state her sub-research objectives according to that theoretical framework. Okay. So just to give you, maybe I must just, I only have very notes about NAIOS that we worked on last night, was that basically it boils down to why are SMEs in South Africa struggling in terms of liquidity and solvency, because 80% of SMEs in the industry fail. And so he's working at a bank. So his research question, his overall research question that we framed was why, despite the high number of interventions available, sorry. Just once again. What are the reasons for SMME failures in South Africa related to liquidity and solvency, despite the high number of interventions available, including support and development? Okay, so can you see where we came from and how we framed it into that one question? Now, his approach, his research approach, is going to determine to a large extent his objectives, because what he wants to do is he wants to look at it from the perceptions of the people in his bank that works in business rescue, that deals with the SMMEs. That's the one part. And then he also wants to interview the owners to hear from their side what the failure is all about, why this happens. So he will have only 2 sub-research objectives, and that would be very broadly stated. My phrasing isn't 100%, but something in the line of what are the perceptions of employees in the business rescue department of a major bank about the reasons for failure amidst the available interventions and support. Okay, so it focuses then on those guys in the bank, their perceptions. And then the second research objective would be to determine the perceptions of the owners, SMME owners that has failed, about the reasons for the failure amidst the support and development and incubators and whatever. All right. So can you see there that then his research objective, he's got his overall one, and his sub-research objectives is based on how he wants to determine it in the study, the different angles that he's going to take. Okay. Right. Let's go back to the MBA, the cheat sheet. Okay, so you've got then your overall research question, like we've done now, and then your sub-research questions or sub-research objectives. In quantitative and qualitative, you can use research questions, only research questions. In qualitative, it is preferred for you to use research objectives, but it's not set in stone that you cannot use questions. Okay, so but if you are using quantitative research, you can only use the hypothesis if it's an experimental approach that you're taking. In other words, that you're trying to say that something causes something else, or if you want to make a prediction about something in the study. So if your answer to those questions are yes, then you'll need an hypothesis. But if it's not going according to the experimental design, that it's quantitative and that you're trying to predict something, then it will not be using a hypothesis. So a hypothesis is only in a quantitative study, okay? It's never in a qualitative study. And you use hypothesis only when you have an experimental approach to it. So if you want to say that something causes something, or that you're making a prediction about something, that's the only time that you use hypothesis. So I would please not want to see, if you have a qualitative study, that you use hypothesis. You never ever use hypothesis in a quantitative study. There's a different way of looking at that, but I didn't include it in the cheat sheet because it's not, you don't have to go into that for your MBA research, but something similar to hypothesis in quantitative is what is called proposition research. But that's a whole new avenue to go onto. So I'm not going to go onto that tangent with you. All right.
Sorry, Ilse, must it be yes to all three or yes to only one of the three?
It will have to be more than one. Okay. So it will have to be at least two. Okay, so that in other words, that it's experimental, in other words, that there's a cause effect, or that you're predicting something. So it will have to be those two. It cannot, hypothesis cannot, you cannot argue that I'm going to use hypothesis for my study if you're not looking at predicting something or a cause effect, even though it is quantitative in nature. Okay, so it has to be at least two of those questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. And Russell, you want to say something?
Sorry, just to repeat that. So it can be quantitative, but it doesn't necessarily be. If you can't answer one of the other two questions, it isn't. You can't state a hypothesis. Is that correct?
No, exactly.
So not all quantitative studies
have an hypothesis.
Yes, not. So just to rephrase, not all quantitative studies will result in a hypothesis. Only certain quantitative studies that meet one of the criteria will result in a hypothesis.
100%. 100%.
And just to understand something else, you mentioned just now that a qualitative study can also end in can start with a hypothesis. Is that correct?
No. In a qualitative study, there's never a hypothesis.
Never.
A study can, the result of the study can result in a hypothesis as the end result, but it's not going to be stated up front for that study. Then typically you would do a qualitative study, and if necessary you come up with an hypothesis, but that hypothesis is then tested in another study. Okay. You can do it if you do mixed methods. You can do it that way, but for your scope, I would be hesitant to make it too broad, because qualitative in itself is huge to do, and then you're going to basically do two studies. Okay, but it is most definitely possible within a study. I would just not recommend it for your project. Right. Okay, so we all know about hypotheses then. Then the reason I've put in here is previous studies, is you need to go and look at what other studies have been done and identify them that's similar to your topic, so that you have a framework to work from. Right. And that is just in terms of framing your argument as well. Because remember, this first part is about getting to focus your topic. Okay. So it's good then to tie down previous studies that are really applicable to your study. Okay. And the next point is the delineation of the study. And we've talked about that on Saturday in class. But basically that would then be to say what you are doing and what you are not doing. For example, in the Verne study, she doesn't want to go into aspects of brand architecture, brand personality, corporate identity, corporate image, and all of those aspects of corporate branding. That's not the focus of her study. So she would typically say then her study does not include those or dealing with those concepts in detail, because the purpose of the study is to look at the dichotomy between the engineering world and the branding world. Okay, just very broadly in layman's terms. And then in the beginning, also what you need to do is you have to know very, very for sure what is your study's significance. So why is it important? So it addresses the benefits that may be derived from doing the study, therefore reaffirming the research purpose. So just be very careful there, and I've seen that in all of the MBA stuff that I've marked the last couple of weeks, is that students claim that there has been no research done on a specific topic. Okay, And that's not a true statement, because it might be that there is limited research on the concept within the South African context. But you cannot argue that limited research has been done about the worlds of engineers and the worlds of the branding world, because there are lots. And if you type it in Google Scholar, because that's typically what the examiner does, to see, especially if they say there's no research being done, is I go to Google Scholar and look for keywords about the study of the student, and then I do find studies. So you cannot make a conclusive statement like that. You can say that there's limited research, but in most instances, and especially for your studies, your context will be significant. Because if I can use Laverne's study again, there are agencies, brand agencies for engineers in the UK and the US, but there are no branding agencies for engineers in South Africa. Okay, so the context will be important for her study as well. Okay, so think about how you're going to apply it to your study.
Sorry. What I found in some of the papers that I read is that they also explain from a personal perspective why it's significant. Is that a bit fluffy?
It is a bit fluffy. Okay. I personally don't like it, but if it depends on the research design, because if it's a narrative design or an ethnographic design, then it would be suitable to say that it's from a personal perspective, because it's about the individual, okay? And the whole style of your narrative design leans towards that. But typically, I wouldn't do that. The other thing that usually that can also be, significance is that maybe the majority of studies on your topic has been done in a qualitative way. And now your study is looking at it from a quantitative way. That can also be an example. Russell, sorry, you wanted to say?
Yeah, I haven't looked, I must confess, I'm taking a bit of a gamble here, but I have changed my topic quite significantly. And it is definitely now falling in line with the quantitative study.
Okay.
And I don't know, in fact, I'm almost certain that there is nothing in the marketplace that would support what I have to say. But there are studies that support other variables. So, for example, I'm studying a phenomenon that has and certain variables within the phenomenon, but I'm excluding other variables.
No, then fine. Then you can say.
Other variables. No, my question is, if there's no study directly related to my variables in my study, do I say that there actually is no study that sort of covers my aspects, but there are studies that discuss other variables that refer to my topic?
Again, I would be hesitant to say no studies has been done. Okay, I would again say there appears to be limited literature on your topic, but there are pieces of research that looks at other variables, but your contribution is to look at these specific variables within this body of literature. Guys, I just have a parents meeting at 7:15, so I'll have to cut out at 7. The theoretical, okay, so everyone's fine with the first part of the focusing your topic. The second part of the cheat sheet is the theoretical framework, and I found a really, really nice article to explain how it fits together. So in general, what I'd like you to include in the theoretical framework is the specific theories that you're going to look at, why those theories are applicable, who the pertinent scholars are, and then briefly explain the basic assumptions of those theories. But with that, you need to say why you say then that those assumptions are applicable to your study. Okay? And then I want you to look at the key constructs or concepts or variables that's related to those theories that you're going to study. Okay? But this article, please read it. Shingi has loaded it. It shows you, it really gives a nice, it's not an intimidating article or anything like that. So please work through that for your theoretical framework. But these are the aspects, the theories, the why the theory, pertinent scholars, assumptions, constructs, concepts, variables. Those are the things that I expect of you in your theoretical framework assignment. Okay. And also make sure that, but we can talk about it still next week in any way, but make sure that you give me the topic, the problem statement, etc. as well, so that I know how you get to those theories. Okay, but yeah, so just give me a background of your study with the problem, the overall research question, research problem. If you can, the sub-questions. If you can't, it's also not the end of the world. But then to just give that as background for me to gauge if the theories are applicable or how you've positioned it. And that's the important part. You need to argue for the relevance of those theories for your study. Okay, so that's the important part of the theoretical framework. And I wonder, because the theoretical framework, as you now know, is now due on the 3rd of December. So next Sunday, okay? So I'm going to finish with the theoretical framework today, and to leave some room for questions. And then next Thursday, we're going to talk about the methodological conceptualization, okay? Because that assignment is only due on the 10th of December, and I'd rather have it fresh in your memory than when you prepare for your the video presentation that you need to submit. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh man. Okay, cool. So any questions?
Ilse, can you give us an example? Can you explain the difference between a concept and a construct? So in my case, stakeholders like the engineers, would they be a construct or a concept?
You know what, thinking of it for your purposes, you don't have to worry about, you can call it concepts, constructs, or variables. And it's a PhD level, and if it's a full dissertation, then we can talk about, you know, because it's really just a hierarchy level if you talk about constructs and concepts and variables, but it's not necessary for your purposes. So let's keep it that it can be constructs, concepts, or variables. I just want to see what the smaller parts are of your study that you're going to look, of those theories that you're going to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you for the cheat sheet.
You're welcome, but you guys owe me a better name for it.
I've posted a name
Study
for you.
buddy.
Have you?
Study buddy.
Oh, sorry, no, I missed it. What is it? What did you propose tonight?
Study buddy.
Birthday.
Sounds much more innocent.
I'm waiting for Study Buddy.
Study Buddy. Okay. We can give a prize by the end of this, by the next class. The person that comes up with the most creative name for the cheat sheet will get a prize. A small prize, but a prize.
Look at Russell's face. He's in it.
I'm trying. Okay. All right. So no, I really hope the cheat sheet helps. And also, just remember, if you don't reach out to me for a one-on-one, I won't know if you want to see me. You don't have to see me. That's really fine. But we can, in the next, contact me. We can just see how our diaries align. You can give me a couple of time slots that you're available, and then I can match it up with my diary. So it's an invitation, but I'm not going to take offense or penalize anyone if they do not contact me. All right.
Thank you for the time that you've given so far. Much appreciated.
Yeah, it was lots of fun. As I said in the beginning and in the first class, it actually gives me an adrenaline rush to figure out a research topic with the objectives and everything. Where does it might be? Okay, right then. I will speak to you again next week, Thursday. Okay. All the best. Keep me up to date. If no news is good news for me. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Sorry, Ilse.
Yes.
Can I ask one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
I'm worried it might take longer than 5 minutes, but maybe just on the. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot because I try to just get a better feel for what's going on because I still feel a bit out of my depth, and I'm very much stuck in a paradigm where you create data from experiments and then interpret it. And all the reading I've done, like you see guys doing case studies and opinions, and when are you doing proper research and when are you doing opinion-based stuff? I'm struggling with that because I have such a strong paradigm that you have to do scientific method stuff. Yeah. So I don't know if there's some background I can brush up on that.
I think, Cor, we can take it offline, but just for a deeper discussion. But just in terms of sort of a tip of the iceberg answer is that scientific method can be either quantitative or qualitative. And there are ways of proving the rigor. And if it is rigorous, and it can be, if it's transferable or if you can generalize it, then it is scientific research. It might be that you don't agree with your personal worldview, don't agree with a specific type of design, but it has to be applied scientifically. So it has to go through the cheat sheet and answer all of those questions and come to a conclusion. But remember, that's what academia is all about, is we tearing each other apart, each other's ideas. So whenever you put a journal article out there, it's out for scrutiny. And you actually need to then reply on it. Because we get cited by other authors. And they use our arguments again and trash it. So it has to be in a scientific journal, published in a scientific journal. Then it proves that there has been rigor to the process. Because how it works with a journal article is that I submit it, say, to a journal, but there's also different levels, a ranked journal. So there are various lists. I love to publish in the Public Relations Review, because it's the oldest journal in one of my fields, and it's an A-rated publication by an independent body it's called the Australian Council's or Business Deans Council's list. And there are various such lists. But the key thing means then, okay, so it's highly ranked, okay? Secondly, what was the review process of that article? So you can go onto the article's website and check, is it a double blind peer reviewed article, which means that the editor of the journal takes your manuscript that you submit for hopeful submission or publication. They take that then and send it to 2 experts over the world randomly, and those experts look at your article to determine if the rigor has been applied scientifically. And only if both agree, then your article gets published. So it's usually a back and forth and back and forth. The A-rated articles can take up to 2 years. I think my one A-rated took me 3 years from submission to actual publication. So it's that whole process behind the scenes. And that's why it's so important to use journal articles and not random research reports on, on the internet. There I'm referring to, for the purposes of Sunday, yes, that's a research report that's publicly available. It's a different purpose. But for academic rigor or scientific rigor, you really need to be careful where you get your sources from.
I think I'll just add one positive thing at least. I stumbled onto one of Laverne's Nielsen reports yesterday.
Oh, cool,
and I kind of felt like finally the stuff is doing something. So I really enjoyed that. So okay. I don't hate marketing.
Yes, but Nielsen is the super best go. And obviously I'm biased towards Euromonitor as well. But there are many of those available. Even like companies or economists that sets out reports, public reports, you can use those things for like Sunday's assignment, but I would be very hesitant to build a research project of my own on the methodology of such a general publication. Okay.
Would we be able to use something like that Euromonitor since it's not publicly available?
I get it through Gibbs, through my affiliation with Gibbs. So in terms of the Monash South Africa available sources, no, I don't think you'll be able to get a Euromonitor report. But you know what? There are many on the internet. Okay, so look for studies that's like from PwC, from Deloitte, McKinsey, Alexander, Grant Thornton, those kind of companies. Look for publications with a reputable, backing for that research.
Thank you. You have to go, so we'll say goodbye.
Okay. Cheers, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.